I've been spending a lot of time with Midjourney version 8 lately, and I'll be honest, I'm just not feeling it. It feels like we've taken 5 steps backward. Back in version 7, it was so much easier to get images that actually looked good right out of the gate. Now that magic just feels gone. One of the biggest issues is how it handles prompts. Short prompts used to be enough, but in V8, if you don't have a style applied, a short prompt looks like total crap. We're back to needing these massive walls of text to get anything decent, and even if you're using styles, you still have to prompt way more than I'd like. I've never been a fan of writing paragraphs just to get a single image. Then there's the workflow. Moving away from Discord has been a massive pain for me. I built my entire process around it, and honestly, trying to put a video together with the same amount of examples now takes me 5 times longer. Yeah, the model is fast, but the overall experience is just inconvenient. I was actually pretty reluctant to even go exploring this version because I was so unhappy with the initial results. While every other model out there seems to be making at least some kind of improvement, V8 feels like a regression. But I figured personalization and SREF codes might be the only way to make this version tolerable. So I dove back in. Exploring SREFs used to be one of my favourite things to do because you'd find so many great aesthetics so quickly. This time, the success rate was much lower. I went through 50 random codes and selected 25 out of them that I didn't straight out dislike. But it doesn't mean that I love all of them either. To keep things consistent for the test, I used my usual method. A simple period symbol for the landscape shots. For the portrait sets, I went with 4 short prompts: high fashion, melting room, neon moss forest, and circuitry rabbit. I tried to keep them as brief as possible to see if the SREF codes could actually do the heavy lifting that the base model seems to struggle with. My usual seed number, 777, seems to be a bit bad this time around though. I kind of felt it overlaying the same bad composition in almost all of the examples. I didn't crank up the stylization at all as usual, but I'm starting to think that maybe I should have. But it is an honest test. This style blends digital watercolour with traditional Chinese ink wash aesthetics, using a soft pastel palette of pinks and blues. It features ethereal, hazy landscapes and delicate figures that create a dreamy, melancholic mood. This one is built on a vibrant neon palette with plenty of pinks and purples. It uses fluid, psychedelic shapes to create a surreal atmosphere that feels very digital. This look is usually associated with high energy or dreamlike scenes. These illustrations take a different path, with a textured, moody feel using teals and oranges. Fine line work and stippling help the landscapes feel expansive and quiet. It has a very reflective and grounded quality to it. A dark, high-contrast aesthetic is found in this style, relying on olive greens and heavy textures. The organic details give it a sombre mood that resembles a detailed ink drawing or a woodcut. This graphic look mimics traditional woodblock printing with a bold red and parchment-coloured palette. It uses heavy outlines and flat colour blocks to create surreal, mushroom-filled landscapes and striking high-contrast character art. Inspired by post-impressionism, this aesthetic is recognisable by its thick, swirling brushstrokes and a classic blue and yellow colour scheme. The rhythmic patterns create a sense of constant energy and motion, giving everything from portraits to nature scenes a heavily textured, painterly feel. Intense lens flares and dramatic God rays define this hyper-detailed cinematic style. It leans into high-saturation lighting and deep shadows to produce an epic, high-budget movie atmosphere across robotic designs and ornate interiors. A digital take on the classic cyanotype, this look relies on stark cobalt blues and crisp whites. It uses bold, painterly strokes and high-contrast shading to give portraits and organic forms a sharp, energetic feeling. Soft pastel oranges and warm pinks define this bubbly, anime-inspired aesthetic. Featuring rounded shapes and recurring teardrop motifs, the style creates a dreamy, inviting atmosphere that feels like a scene from a nostalgic storybook. Vibrant, multicolored dabs of paint are layered together here to build high-energy landscapes and textures. This mosaic-like approach uses heavy saturation and a pointillist technique to make every image feel like it's shimmering with light. Drawing heavily from the Romanticism era, this look features rich oil textures and dramatic warm lighting. It pairs grand natural scenery like sunflower fields and stormy seas with elegantly posed figures to create a sense of timeless, high art drama. A nostalgic pictorialist quality defines this next aesthetic, mimicking the soft focus and faded sepia tones of early photography. The imagery feels hazy and antique, focusing on mysterious labyrinths and ethereal portraits that seem to belong to a bygone era. Intricate inkwork and sharp black and white contrast characterize this style, which utilizes complex cross-hatching to build depth. It captures everything from hyper-detailed cityscapes to expressive character art with the precision and grit typical of premium seinen manga. Retrofuturism defines this aesthetic, characterized by 80s-inspired neon grids and glowing sunset silhouettes. It uses a heavy glitch effect and digital clock motifs to create a nostalgic electronic atmosphere drenched in vibrant purple and cyan. Earthy tones and complex flowing lines come together here to create stylized animal and human portraits. The intricate, swirling patterns feel reminiscent of traditional folk illustration, using a warm palette of golds and deep blues to add a sense of ancient, organic storytelling. Dramatic lighting and void-like silhouettes dominate this moody, cinematic style. It often features sharp, glowing focal points, like celestial portals or oversized moths, against dark, detailed backgrounds, resulting in a high-contrast look that feels both mysterious and intense. A shimmering, ethereal aesthetic defines this look, which is saturated with sparkling glitter and soft pastel gradients. It creates a dreamlike, fairy-core atmosphere by blending delicate floral motifs and glowing portraits with a sense of magical light. Shadows and cinematic teal and amber lighting create a moody, futuristic vibe in this next collection. The imagery often features robotic figures and lone animals tucked away in atmospheric, low-light settings, giving it a quiet but intense sci-fi narrative feel. This aesthetic leans into a bold, graphic illustration style, dominated by deep purples and high-contrast blacks. Utilizing clean lines and stylized motifs like moths and owls, it delivers a punchy, modern look that feels like a piece of high-end, dark pop art. Muted tones and sparse compositions define this minimalist look, creating a sense of isolation and quiet wonder. It uses a desaturated palette to highlight lone figures like astronauts or children against vast and somber landscapes. Warmth radiates from this next aesthetic, which is drenched in golden light and deep amber hues. Soft focus textures and motifs, like fluttering butterflies, add a layer of magical realism to the dreamy, cave-like environments and classical portraits. Vibrant yellows and crisp whites dominate this style, giving it an airy and divine feeling. It features majestic subjects like breaching whales and floating islands, all brought to life with a high-key lighting style that feels incredibly pure and uplifting. Deep indigo and midnight blues anchor this aesthetic, creating a moonlit atmosphere defined by stark, elegant silhouettes. It feels like a modern fairy tale told through paper-cut layers and golden highlights, giving each scene a sense of mythic stillness. Richly detailed and highly tactile, the look captures the dense beauty of traditional tapestry and folk embroidery. Every frame is packed with tiny, colourful motifs and woven patterns that suggest a deep sense of cultural heritage and handcrafted storytelling. Vivid geometric shards and flowing architectural lines define this final kaleidoscopic style. It mimics the appearance of stained glass or abstract cubism, resulting in high-energy compositions that feel both structural and explosive at the same time. And that's it. I might have liked a few eventually with some prompts, but I don't think this comes even close to what we had in V7. I'm so looking forward to 8.1 already, and I hope it will fix what went wrong with V8. I'm certainly understanding why it took so long to be released, and it's not even really released, as it's limited to alpha only. But I'll try to see if I can figure out how to prompt with this one. If you'd like to join my Patreon, there's a link in the description. As a bonus to my members, you will get to see 25 more ugly styles in the accompanying prompt PDF. Maybe it's just my sense of aesthetics, and you might find something useful from there. I thank you so much for watching and sticking with me in these explorations. Sometimes you can't just have everything looking pretty all the time. There's bound to be some ugly in the mix. Let's just continue prompting.